Have you ever held onto an idea simply because you have lived with it for so long? Well, today I want to talk about a different stage of the creative process. Not gathering ideas, but choosing what stays and having the courage to let something go when something truer wants to emerge. Welcome to Singer-Songwriter, a space to reconnect with your voice, your music, and the songs waiting to be written. I'm Lainey, singer and songwriter, voice and creativity coach. If you've ever dreamed of writing and singing your own songs, but doubt or perfectionism keeps getting in the way, then grab that notebook full of ideas. It's time to open your voice, trust your sound, and express yourself freely. Your songs are waiting. Let's bring them to life. Hey friend, welcome. Today we get to talk about this stage of the creative process that can be so challenging. It's this part where we have to choose, we have to make choices, we have to decide what stays, what goes, what are we going to spend our time on, what are we going to put to the side for now. It's this idea of editing, making revisions, and using that gift of discernment as an artist to choose what ultimately becomes part of the finished product, or what you even channel your creative energy into in the first place in terms of projects and ideas. So quickly, before we get into that conversation, I just want to invite you to join my newsletter. This is a space where I share behind the scenes reflections on singing, songwriting, the creative process, the artist's journey, and you get a little window into my own journey as an artist. So you can sign up using the link in the show notes. That is reawakenyourvoice.com/insider. One more time, to join my email list, become part of my Studio Notes newsletter, go to reawakenyourvoice.com/insider. So this week, I revisited an old song. And this is a song that I've been carrying for years. So I sat down at the piano to play through this old song. And when I got to the second verse, I stumbled a little bit because this verse is one that I have reworked so many times and tried to tweak to make it work, make things fit and say what I wanted to say, but it's always been slightly awkward. And when I got to it this time, it was no different, except for the fact that I was hearing another verse altogether. Different lyrics started coming through, and I knew there was something there that was heavy, that was true, that wanted to be said, but it wouldn't fit. And I felt like there was no room for a third verse. It just felt like too much, too many words. I didn't need all that. What I needed was to look the truth in the face and be real about it. It wasn't that this verse wasn't true, the original. It wasn't that it wasn't saying something meaningful. It's just that it wasn't true enough. It didn't strike that place that needed to be touched. It's so hard to talk about without going into detail of the song, but it needed something more from me, and it required something more of me. that I was finally willing to look at. It wasn't just the beauty of the story. It wasn't just that surface level, like good times, good memories. It was asking me to touch the tragedy of the story. That part of what was true. It asked me to dig into the loss and acknowledge it for what it was. And as I worked through this verse, I just gutted it. I gutted the whole thing, the original that I had been trying to figure out all these years. I just deleted it, took it out. Okay, in full disclosure, I put it at the bottom of the page. Okay, this once existed. Let's remember that this was the verse once. But it's no longer part of the song. It's part of the story of the song, sure. But it's not in there anymore. I replaced it with what was more true. I replaced it with a tragic part of the story that I had been avoiding. Because when I originally wrote this, I wasn't ready to look at it. I wasn't ready to tell that part of the story. But that was the verse the song had been waiting for all along. It was waiting for me to come around, to be ready to look at the truth and speak it, write it, sing it. So in many ways, this episode is about choosing what stays, choosing what remains in the finished product, making those artistic choices, not only about the melody, the harmony, the song structure, but about the lyrics and how we tell the story. It's not just about making those choices. It's also about coming to a place as an artist and as a human where we can tell the full truth, have the courage to tell the truth even when it hurts. Having the courage to tell the truth even if it feels like the ugly part of the story. Because in many ways, the truth, the tragedy, that is beautiful in all its heartache. It reminds me of this Emily Dickinson poem that just has stayed with me throughout my life, Beauty and Truth. I died for beauty, but scarcely was laid in the tomb when one who died for truth was lain in an adjoining room. And it goes on. But it speaks to how beauty and truth are so closely intertwined, almost as if they are one. So, what this makes me realize, earlier this summer, we have talked a lot about gathering ideas, listening, collecting, trusting those creative instincts, following inspiration. But eventually there comes a point in the creative process where it's asking something different of us. It's asking us to choose, which can sometimes be the hardest part. You see, at first, creativity is about saying yes to ideas, saying yes to possibilities, to exploration, just being wide open and taking it all in. Yes, what could this become? But eventually, the work becomes discernment. It's about saying no, because not every idea belongs in the finished piece. Some ideas are just stepping stones to get to the one that stays. Not every lyric survives. I cut out that whole verse, and there were things in there I wanted to say, but I thought, no, this is more important. What's coming through now is more important. So this work of discernment becomes a practice in letting go, being okay to let go of ideas. Because not every project needs to be completed right now, or wants to be completed right now, or is ready to come to life right now. And sometimes the work isn't about adding more and doing more and getting more and more ideas, more and more inspiration. Sometimes it's removing what no longer serves the deeper truth. And this is what I realized sitting at the piano and taking out that verse and replacing it with these new lyrics. It wasn't that original verse was wrong or not good. It just wasn't true enough. And if we kind of zoom out and look at the wider picture, I think this is true of more than songwriting. Because how often do we hold on to something just because we have lived with it for so long? How often do we hold on to an idea or a project or a habit or a story we tell ourselves, or even a version of who we think we are? How often do we hold on to those things just because we've lived with them for so long? It's like we stopped looking at them. We just sing through because that's what's there. We go through the motions because that's what we wrote. That's what we chose back then. That's what we committed to back then. But there's this part of the creative process that requires us to step back and look with discerning eyes. Even when we're feeling all these things in our hearts. Even when it's so hard to look at what's the reality. When it's hard to look at what's true. We need to be able to step back and look with some perspective. Is this really what the song is calling for? Is this idea really where I want to devote my time? Is this really what I want to say here? Sometimes the hardest part about creativity is this part where we have to let go. We have to put on those editing glasses or enter that space of revision in our minds. Revision, seeing it again. And sometimes we got to take a machete to a verse. And sometimes that means letting go of an old perspective or letting go of the armor that we were using to protect ourselves from what really wanted to be said there. But as we're letting go, we are making space for something that is truer, even if it's a harder truth. We're making space for something that is more aligned with this version of ourselves, who we are today, while also letting go of perhaps more naive parts of ourselves. And maybe that is what artistic maturity looks like. It's not always about having more ideas and inspiration, but developing the discernment to recognize which ideas belong, which words ring truer, even if they hurt. It's having the courage to tell the whole truth, not just sugarcoating it or making it look so beautiful or sound so beautiful. But really, there's something more real stirring beneath the surface. As artists, we must be willing to go to that place down beneath the surface. And sometimes that takes years to get us there, and that's okay. But when we eventually do, we need to trust that what remains of the original work is stronger because it's more honest. So if you are in a season of choosing, if you are editing and rewriting like I am, or choosing which project to devote your attention and your time and your creative energy to, or if you are just quietly letting go of something that you've carried for a long time, trust that it may be that you're getting closer to the heart of what you're really trying to say. Closer to the heart of meaning and what really matters. Our job isn't to protect every idea that we have. Our job as artists is to tell the truth. We have to protect the truth that the art is asking us to tell. And sometimes that means letting something go so that something truer can emerge, even when that truth is harder to sing. Thanks for listening, friend. If this episode moved you or inspired you in some way, would you please leave a review on Apple Podcasts or share this episode with someone who's been praying for a vocal breakthrough? Until next time, keep nurturing that song in your heart. Lots of love.